Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Surgeon here, bringing you a StarCraft 2 commentary. We have Sergeant Prophet, the pink Protoss, spawning in the 7 o'clock position, and mark05, the teal Protoss, spawning in the 8 o'clock position. On Lost Temple, this game is game 1 from the Zeke North American East Open League Season 1. Yes, that's a tongue tie, but this is a nationwide tournament for the North American server. Actually, there are other, Canada is involved as well. Our Protoss player, Sergeant Prophet, he is from the United States. He is a 358 rating diamond level Protoss. And mark05, he is 1900 level diamond level Protoss. Something special about mark05. mark05 is a weekly player in the sg2gg.com weekly, and we admire his play. He is number 1 in the power rankings on the weekly tournament. He will be representing the North American server in the weekly kickoff at sc2gg.com. Go check that out. But anyways, let's get to the game. And this is a best of 3, so we will be seeing a second game at Jungle Basin, and then if need be a third game. So we just see mark05 going for the standard pylon, gateway, gas pylon, as well as Sergeant Prophet going for the same, going for the probe kill. He does get it. mark05 going for a cyber core, while Sergeant Prophet decides to opt for early zealot. I'm not sure why, but we'll see how he uses it. And early zealot to me is not efficient use of that 100 minerals, because a stalker can easily kite a zealot early on, and without zealot legs you have pretty much no use for it. I mean, here comes a probe, and let me just point out that the probe has a move speed of 2.81, while the zealot has a 2.25 move speed. And what that means is that every second the probe can move 2.81 StarCraft unit spaces. So if you think about the whole map as a grid of little squares, there's 2.81 squares that the probe can move in a second, while the zealot can only move 2.25. And you know, if you have good micro, just like in the StarCraft Brood War, you can get this probe to stay alive until that stalker pops out. And here comes that stalker for Sergeant Prophet, while there is no scout in mark05's base because he popped out his stalker a little bit earlier, had that cyber core out. It wasn't delayed by an early zealot. And we have a supply block by Sergeant Prophet. Always good to be supply ahead. I'll talk about that more later on. And yeah, we do have an auto probe for mark05. You know, that's unfortunate because every probe early on counts. You know, if you sacrifice a probe to scout, he had to sacrifice 2. So, you know, he already down another probe. But let's look at the unit tab to see how many probes he does have. He is ahead by 2 probes though, so he probably has been chrono boosting out, while Sergeant Prophet was supply blocked for that little moment, so he might have had a loss of time building probes there. mark05 opting to go for the robo facility early and popping out an early observer, as well as throwing down his 3rd gateway. He does have warp gate technology finished, and so does Sergeant Prophet, so we'll see where they go from here. Sergeant Prophet getting his obs, and then gonna be pumping out an Immortal. An Immortal coming also from mark05. It looks almost identical build, but Sergeant Prophet does not have an extra gateway. Unit composition is Sentry Stalker for mark05, and for Sergeant Prophet is Stalker with 1 Zealot. mark05 does have control of the nearest watchtower to Prophet's 7 o'clock base, and so he will be able to see any pushes. Sergeant Prophet was able to pick off mark05's early observer, so that was a point for him, and now he'll be going over to mark05's base, who does not have an observer making. He does have a Immortal halfway done. Wow, and just that probe is still idle. I mean, mark05 should be able to look at his mini map, and there in the bottom left you're gonna have your idle worker icon, and he should be just clicking that at least, you know, every 5 minutes, and we are 8 minutes into the game. So observer seeing the unit composition and the expansion for mark05. Let's see what response the Sergeant Prophet does make to this expansion. Will he make an expansion of a zone, or will he counterattack? It looks like he's putting down 2 more gateways in response, so he looks like he's going to try to make a timing attack to catch mark05 off. But in the income, they're about even, so the harvester count, mark05 is up by 3 harvesters. He does have his observer coming, so he will be seeing Sergeant Prophet's observer, and yeah, there it goes down easily. So let's see what mark05 transitions to now that he knows he's taking out the scout for Sergeant Prophet. Sergeant Prophet going for the Stargate, amazing. Let's see if he does some damage with this to take surprise mark05, because that's really all he has. No expansion, not even an expansion down. mark05's expansion already up. He'll be transferring his workers momentarily. mark05 getting double pylon. He will be pumping from 3 gates and the robotics facility, and their Sergeant Prophet's late nexus. He's already over a minute and a half behind on his nexus, so I'm not sure where he's going to go with this. If he's just going to try catch up in the macro game, he's already down 4 harvesters, and in the mirror matchup you got to be equal or ahead to be winning, or you're going to have to be making a massive timing attack. Void Ray is getting chrono boosted, and mark05 just continuously producing Immortals from his robo facility, as well as sentries and stalkers for backup. 1 Void Ray done, second one on the way for Prophet. mark05 does see the Prophet trying to expand to catch up, and he will see any pushes. Prophet sending his observer out, got it past mark05, and mark05 has not scouted it yet, or maybe he has, but he just doesn't, he wants to play off that he hasn't seen it, but I think he hasn't seen it, so this observer is pretty safe for now, and he will see the entire unit composition. And yeah, he might have seen it. He did gather his units, so he might have saw the blur. Okay, double Void Ray out now. Here comes a Void Ray harass, I would say, with the Robo Bay coming down from mark05. Let's look at the income tab. mark05 ahead by 300 minerals per minute and 200 gas per minute. The Void Rays are in the base, while Prophet makes a double 2-prong attack with his ground army. He will take his Void Rays fully charged, Nexus halfway dead. His army is right outside the natural. Void Rays are cleaned up by the Stalkers. Here comes the battle. Immortals on Stalkers on Immortals. Immortals have no support. Sentries putting down the force fields. Force fields down. Stalkers to come to the high ground at the natural ledge. With this great force field, with 4 force fields blocking off the entire natural choke, and Prophet forced to retreat with no way to break those force fields. A Colossus would have been able to break those force fields, but he didn't have it. So mark05 did a good job of saving his Immortal army and also taking out the Void Ray harass. Meanwhile, mark05 throwing down, still with an idle probe, just throwing down pylons. He is supply blocked after that encounter. So yeah, always good to be up on supply, especially late game. And what I was gonna say is that when you get to the triple digits in your supply, you should be adding 2 supply buildings. So 2 pylons, 2 overlords, or 2 supply depots to get that extra supply for macroing your army up. And so here comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more gateways and a forge for mark05, while Sergeant Prophet is only adding his 4th gateway now. So I'm sorry if I said Sergeant Prophet was going for 4 gates before. I must have cancelled this 4th gate and went for a Stargate in response. He does get his robotics bay down, but Sergeant mark05 is already popping out his 2nd Colossus. I'm not sure where Prophet will be with the army composition. mark05 did get his expansion down earlier. His harvesters are astounding 57/38 in comparison to the Prophet, so he does have a massive harvester lead and an economic lead of 400 minerals per minute. mark05 putting down his 3rd. The rock's already beaten down on Prophet's side at his high yield expansion. mark05 sees his entire army, knows that he's still in his base, probably just macroing up his army. The army tab, mark05 has an astonishing lead, 30 supply over Prophet. So any encounter should be taken by mark05 with proper micro. Let's see the production tab. We have Zealot legs coming for mark05. That's going to be great for unit support. 2 cannons. So let's find those cannons. Cannons are being warped in at his 2nd expansion, which is going to help delay any expansion harass and allow his army to get back to his expansion. mark05 does not have his observer with his army, so that's crucial because now Prophet knows he's at the Zelnaga Watchtower and he probably won't want to engage. He probably won't want to go around or get a really good concave here or here. You know, he knows where his army is, which is good for him, but without a decent sized army, he's not gonna win the battle or a great concave. So he does, sees the entire army, and mark05 has transferred, so his income should be way ahead. Now ahead 600 minerals per minute with the advantage of 24 harvesters. Yeah, he's got a full base of harvesters saturation, more than Prophet. It's gonna if he can continue to keep that economic lead, he's gonna have the advantage in the late game with the ability to replenish his army quicker, especially with a lot more gateways. You know, he's got an 8 gate versus a 5 gate, and here comes a confrontation. mark05 pushing up, using the Colossus to spot off the ledge. Phoenix is coming in for Prophet. Here comes the engagement. No micro at all from either player, just straight up brute force, Protoss on Protoss army. And the 3 Colossus are going to be the difference with the Zealots to reinforce, and good force fields to pin out Prophet's army. And yeah, there's a GG from Prophet. This is the Surgeon bringing you game 1 from mark05 versus Sergeant Prophet in the Zeke North American East Open League Season 1. Game 2 to follow.